guys, welcome to UK Property News. So, could house prices, or 1 in 3 experts or people polled by Rants think that a housing crisis could happen? Okay, so, it's a big ask. 1 in 30% chance of a massive drop. Now, what I actually think, or what most of the predictions are, is 1.6%. I think, yes, that's probably about right. I think we'll see London still remain quite calm. I think what we'll see is the rest of the UK slow down a bit, certainly in the major cities. I think there's still going to be some growth in some of the other cities, some of the smaller cities, maybe like Leeds and Sheffield and a few places like that, where they haven't seen huge growth yet, but there's huge investment going in. But I think the key is look, it's as I've been saying for a couple of months now. The housing market is not booming. What it is doing is it's sustainable. It's doing very well, considering all of the outside pressures and that. And look, this report is talking about a 1 in 3 chance if we get a no deal, okay? So if we get a deal, they're saying 1.6% approximately, drop that is, okay? So, so don't expect much from next year, and don't think anyone's expecting much from next year. We've got Brexit. It's going to be a dog's breakfast, irrespective of whether they work something out or not. So in this article, what we're seeing is, 27 billion house prices have dropped, or the value of property has dropped this year. So 27 billion. It's a lot of money, except when you think it as a percentage of the entire market, it's only 0.33%. So given that all that's going on, actually, the market, this is what I'm surprised about. We're not surprised. I'm not surprised. This is what I find amazing about how they report it in the news. Okay, so the headline was 27 billion. In the subtext was 0.33%. Okay, so one of the other things that we're seeing is tenant demand is up because supply of housing is down. That's both because landlords are selling up, and because they're just not building enough. We're not building enough properties. No matter what the incentive the governments have put in, they haven't yet worked, because for every incentive they've said to build more homes, they've made it harder to buy more homes. The key here with all these sort of things is when you see these news articles, what you're going to see is sales figures, and you're going to see rental figures. And right now, rental is looking pretty good because there's a diminishing market, supply and demand. Okay, supply is decreasing, demand is increasing. Yeah, sales, supply is actually increasing, decreasing demand. So you're seeing house prices drop, but rents increase. Okay, so depending on how that affects your portfolio, whether it be the capital or the cash flow, okay, you can look at that. I think one of these, this article here talks about, or lots of articles are talking about the fact that it's going to be so much easier when there's a house price crash or the prices drop and all this sort of thing. But I think the key here and what's being missed is that, if prices drop to say 40%, the damage that would do to the economy generally, okay, because let's face it, people are going to lose their jobs, unemployment goes up, people have less money, blah blah blah, and you follow that through all the industries and what's going to happen. That's not necessarily a good thing. Whether you like it or not, we're in a market where increasing house prices is something that's going to do. And look, let's face it, part of the reason this is forget about house prices, okay? Because this is one of the, if you like, the fake pass or whatever. Actually, it comes down to land values, and land values here. In this article, we're talking about land values growing 10 trillion, or being at 10.1 trillion, the value of them. Now that's pretty bloody good, And when I say good, it's comparative, because actually it's neither good or bad. It's what it is. Land values are growing and will continue to grow because that is where the value is in property. It's not necessarily bricks and mortar. The price, actually, the land component is the thing that actually adds value, not necessarily the building. The building is depreciable. The building actually, will cost you this much there and this much there, but it's relative to what it's worth. So, in actual fact, when you buy a property investment, you're buying the land value, and that's why I talk about fundamentals: shops, schools, transport links, major employers, major investment, in the opposite order. So major investment all the way down to shops. Okay. And that's why I talk about fundamentals, because fundamentals are about land, not the building. Now, yes, the building can add a bit to it, if it's a nice spec, if it's a whatever, but the reality is most of that is just the sales gumph that you get from the estate agent, okay? Actually, it's the fundamentals you want to look for. So let's talk about Brexit. So look, despite all this going on, actually, we're bloody resilient. I have to say, I'm freaking impressed. You know, when I first heard Brexit happen, I was kind of like, oh no, you know, this is really going to be bad. But then I actually sat down that weekend and I spent the whole weekend writing a book about Brexit. Okay, and the interesting thing is, after that, I had quite a positive opinion about it, the opportunities that it presented. Not to say that, you know, I don't think the EU is a good thing. You know, I'm very indifferent about that because it's got its good and bad. But there is no doubt about this. We are very resilient, and the trick is, I think, for all of us, is to just prepare for a no deal and make sure we can hold our portfolio. And if you can do that, you're laughing. And I think, you know, the final thing that I guess I wanted to raise was, you know, because we've got Brexit coming up, but the reality is we'll have an election at some point in the future, and it looks like Theresa May, you know, she's not really holding very well. So I thought I'd have a quick look at Corbyn, you know, because I think Corbyn, one of the things with Corbyn, and I'll introduce him, I'll actually cover him next week as well, a bit more detail about his policies and things like that. But this is the trouble with Corbyn is he doesn't have the backing of London, yeah, but he has the backing of the country, okay? So Labour, you know, he's the Labour leader. You know, people say he's not popular, and the news actually deriles him all the time. It's you know, it's amazing how much flack he cops. Some of his policies, I think, are very good. And some of the things, given what's been going on, he's almost striking a rebalance between the rich and the poor. Now, that's a hard thing to do. And the problem is some of the things he's talking about are talking directly to property investors and saying, you know, basically, you rich landowners or you rich property investors, you know, need to pay more. And it's like, well, hold on a sec. We're already paying more, you know. You're talking about the large corporations, not the small landlords who's just trying to secure their pension, you know, and look after their families, you know. And that's one of the keys I have of things. His real problem is, how does he bridge a gap between the sort of the London, the cities, and the country? And that's really going to be, and I'll leave that with you for today. Don't forget to subscribe or comment. I'm jumping on, responding, recording videos. We've got a heap of videos that I've just got a new editor, so the great thing is I can edit a lot more quickly, which means I can get them onto YouTube a lot quicker, or Instagram. We're doing 1 minute videos now on Instagram, so if you go across my Instagram, Rants, sorry. You know, you can get me anywhere. I'm there. Any questions you've got about anything, whether it be UK or any of the fundamental principles of property investment. You know, I may not know about, you know, this interest rate in Canada or whatever, but the reality is principles remain the same regardless of the market. So if you're sitting there in Bangladesh and you go, what's the principle about this? I can help. All right, guys, have a great day.